Alright, hello guys. Today we're going to be taking a quick two pages from the book A Rumor of War by Philip Keptu. It's basically a book about the classic Vietnam War. The insert I will be reading takes place with the soldiers and some of the harsh environments they have to deal with. So I'm going to be reading it for you guys. If you guys got questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, let's get right on into it. And for a brief backup, this is taking place where some of the war has already started to. They're already in the middle of the war that is going on in Vietnam, where we're fighting for, trying to help. There's a couple of different argument viewpoints. The grade level, you can say, is for college because there's more deep thinking involved as well. Otherwise, there might be a little bit of gruesome into it because it is dealing with the war and what the soldiers are dealing more from an account point view of one of the soldiers. So let's jump on into it. And the mutilation caused by modern weapons came as a shock. We are accustomed to seeing the human body in contact to us. A corpse was an elderly uncle lying on a coffin and his face powdered and his tie in place. Death emits to no degree. The elderly uncle who dies decently in bed is no less dead than an enemy soldier whose head has been blown apart by a .45 caliber bullet. Nevertheless, we are sickened by the torn flesh, the viscera, and the splattered brains, the horror laid in recognition at the body, which supposed to be earthly home of an immortal soul, which people spend so much time feeding, conditioning, and beautifying, is the only fact fragile case stuffed full of disgusting matter. Even the brain, the wondrous complex organ that generates the power of thought speech, is nothing more than a lump of slick gray tissue. The sight of mutilation did more than cause me physical revolutions. It burst the religious myth of the Catholic childhood. I could not look at these men and still believe their souls had passed on to another existence, or that they had souls in the first place. I could not believe in the bloody mess would be capable of resurrection of my last day. They did, in fact, seem more dead. Massacred or annihilated might better describe what happened to them. Whatever, they were good for good. Well, they're gone for good. Sorry, my body, mind, and spirit. They have been seen the last days and not much of it either. They died well before noon. So basically right here it is saying that, given a description of how he views what happened, he's basically saying it's no more good than dead. So this might be something to note for possible papers. Just talking about, like, if you were going on how gruesome the war is, that most people just view it as it's just a war that really didn't happen. A lot of people don't view it. Another question is maybe, why does he think this way? Some people didn't believe in religion. Some people believed when they died. So maybe that's something you could think about as well. Finding no signs of immersion foot, a skin disease similar to trench foot among men, I returned to the platoon CP to have a look at myself. Campbell and Widener were there resting under a poncho they had stretched between trees. It was noon without a breath of wind, and sky seemed like a blazing aluminum lid clamp over the world, but the sun felt good against my bare feet. Campbell talked to himself as he burned a leech off his legs. "There you go," he said, touching the back swollen thing with the tip of a lightened cigarette. "A little hot foot for you." The leech curled up and dropped off. "There, got it. Got the little fucker. Got on you, Lieutenant. Have you checked yet?" I said. "Well, let your old platoon sergeant take a look at you. Get to drop your drawer, sir." I took my trousers down and, feeling a little ridiculous, stood while Campbell examined. Only one leech was on me, and I watched with pleasure as it recoiled under the heat of the cigarette. "That's it, Lieutenant. Guess the leech don't look like your blood type. There's one more, old Wichita." The Japanese word, which meant yours truly, reminded me of the platoon peacetime days in Okinawa. Seemed very long. So with this going on, this just talks about, like, shows you how close they are with their troops, like that they are one squad. They're not just a bunch of people who came together to go fight the war. It continues on talking about just some of the small things that are happening at camp, some of the stuff they've seen. So for that, might be something you could consider writing into your papers, talking about the trench life for the Vietnam War, even though it's not really trenches. It's more just them hiding in, like, really poor parts of town that they were welcomed. So there's a lot of options. For questions, maybe like, would you be able to see yourself doing this? Being able to fight in a war that you don't really know what you're fighting for. You're just dying left and right, either from snipers hiding in trees, getting shot at, dying just by disease, wildlife. The Vietnam people are really mean. So for the conclusion, the one thing I would probably have my students do is have them write a 2-page paper describing like what they've learned or takeaways from the Vietnam War, because there's just so much you could write about. You can write about their lives, you can talk about the diseases, the warfare they fought. There's even like just how the people treated the Vietnam soldiers, because in this book particular, there are different things going on in it as well. So if you guys have questions, feel free to raise your hand.